Welcome back to another trade recap. Today is April the 21st. Nice trade towards the upside on Palantir. Yesterday we had a nice trade on Apple. So great way to start off the week. So far it is shaping up to be a fairly nice month here in April with of course the rally towards the upside. Haven't done a market update for you guys in a while. So I'm going to pull up my trading calendar as you can see right here. To go over my statistics, up $51,000 for the month. Trade win percentage 52%, profit factor 3.29, daily win percentage 63%, average win to loss ratio of around 2.96. So this is a little bit higher, right? Primarily because of one outlier trade that we'll talk about. That was on Tesla last week. Probably the best trade in the past few months in specific. But you can see this overall month, as you can see, shaped up fairly nicely here. Started off a little bit shaky, but then we end up getting some nice trades, of course, with the rally towards our all-time highs. We had a nice, plenty of opportunities here in the markets, and then making 29,000 on week number 2, and then week number 3 ended up starting off the week fairly strong. Ended off the week with a couple losing trades. And then, of course, this week so far, up about $4,000. Not a lot, but the market is consolidating the past 2 days. Hasn't had too many continuation trades compared to the last previous weeks, but so far trading fairly well for the month of April. We have a couple of red days here on the calendar, but besides that, there's been some nice opportunities. The main one, of course, was that Tesla trade that we ended up nailing. So with that being said, let's go into some of the trades we ended up taking. Number one, we'll start off on Apple. This was the previous day high retest that we took. This was yesterday, right off the key levels. As you can see, Apple is, of course, dropping here now and a couple other names. But Apple, previous day high retest yesterday, the one showing relative strength. Nice retest for continuation higher. Nice kind of base hit for continuation towards the upside. Today, ended up taking Palantir. Really wanted that reclaim above our previous day highs. Wasn't too aggressive on this name, but this would have been the trade above our previous day highs for a push up in towards that 148, but ended up opting in for the retest of our 148 for continuation. Nice little scalp here as well. Nothing crazy the past 2 days, just a couple $1,000 trades. Not that much continuation, of course, with the QQQ pulling back. And we, of course, do have some news tomorrow, some news tonight. So that is something to keep an eye out for. But game plan coming to April 21st, which is today. Coming to market open, we're right around our Fridays highs of last week. Currently, we have Trump speaking and then the Fed chair speaking later today. What I'd like to see is a reaction that we have off our previous day highs along with their Fridays highs. Longs in play above certain key levels. We actually end up dropping before the market opens and kind of filled the gap that we did have. Main watches, NVIDIA above previous day highs, AMD reclaim for a move higher, a couple other names, right? ARM, previous day highs, SNDK. So today, we had a couple names that we're looking for. Primarily it was going to be above our previous day highs here on the Qs. So if you go into the QQQ chart, the key level in this case, was at 650, and then the SPY was above our previous day highs, which was key. And as you can see right off the bat, we end up getting that nice break. We filled the gap and push up in towards that 650. So far, you can see there's a couple of rejections here, and we end up having a nice reversal. As for the SPY, we actually end up holding this previous day highs fairly nicely, trade up in towards that 712-ish, and you can see pretty big rejection here now on the SPY and Qs. Tape was staying a little bit more heavy, but coming into today, basically we're still leaning more towards the upside. We filled the gap right within the first 5 minutes. We're fairly neutral, and then once we broke above our previous day highs, then we flipped back bullish, and then there's a couple nice trading opportunities. But now in the overall market, it's really not too much the first 2 days of the week, right? As you can see here, Fridays price action, then we have Mondays and Tuesdays, most likely a little bit more consolidation in between that 644 and that 650 here today. But what we're expecting, we do have some news coming up fairly shortly. Plus, we have earnings with Tesla and a couple other big things to keep in mind as well. So that's going to be really what the next thing the market is going to be waiting for. But let's go on to now the live session that we have for us today. Really not too much to talk about, as I mentioned, just a couple base hits on Apple and Palantir to start off the week. We're going to be a little bit more patient here, but just to give you guys a quick little outlook on the higher time frames. After this really solid push towards the upside, we're expecting some sort of consolidation or a potential pullback. It would be perfect if we can get this pullback down in towards that 640, this is going to be the next pullback long here, back up in towards our all-time highs. That would be fantastic if you can get that SPY. Similar kind of thesis. If you can get that pullback long back down in towards our gap fill area or even this previous retest level, this would be a fantastic long for continuation towards the upside. So that's what we're going to be waiting for here now in the SPY. A lot of these other names are still shaping up nicely. Of course, we have a bunch of earnings on some of these Meg 7 names next week. So we're just going to be a little bit more patient. Yeah, I'll go into the live session here. Let me pull this up. So as you can see, playing out the tape today, overall Qs kind of dropping right off the bat. A couple things we're looking for: AMD reclaim potentially, Nvidia reclaim back above, but really not too much was happening here with the Qs. You can see initial drop towards the downside, made it a little bit harder for longs. Plus, we already filled the gap coming to market open. So really wasn't looking at too much. Palantir was showing some strength here. I like Palantir above our previous day highs. You can see it was just kind of consolidating at this time, but showing relative strength compared to, of course, the QQQ. And once it broke back above, so Palantir, once it broke back above, another strong candle close, reclaim once again. That's when the SPY was breaking towards the upside here. Microsoft had a pretty nice move towards the upside, but Palantir, the best trade would have been the reclaim back above your previous day highs. Was interested in it, a little bit too slow with the Q's reaction, and this candle already closed at high of day. So I was being a little bit more patient. That would have been a nice trade up and towards that 148. And as you can see, Q started pushing nicely back towards the upside here. But then the Palantir, another push up. So we could have been looking for, now we can be looking for that 148 retest, and then Qs, you can be looking for that previous day high retest. And as it came back down, right, we had a nice little reaction here right off our 148, which happened to be our Friday's highs, and then Qs end up getting some nice buyers. So Qs nice buyers stepped in right off that 648 Palantir entry. I got in a little bit, actually a later entry, but Palantir, nice retest right off that 148, stop underneath looking for high day plus continuation. So that was the trade on Palantir. Nice trade up in towards like our 150. And then, of course, QQQ ended up rejecting off that key pivot level, and we ended up having a reversal. But that was the key levels that we had. As for the trade that I took yesterday, looking for some upside still in the overall markets. Key levels I had was Apple, basically a little bit more consolidation, SPY in between its 5-minute range high, Qs in between its 5-minute range high, Apple strong push higher. Now I'm looking for the hold above our previous day highs, and you can see Apple basing nicely, ended up entering in on this candle right here, 941, stop underneath, or stop really was underneath this previous day high, tight stop looking for continuation towards the upside, and then Qs ended up breaking underneath, but end up reclaiming, and then Apple held their key levels, and you can see markets ended up gravitating nicely back towards the upside. So that was the Apple trade. Nothing crazy on the Palantir here as well. So not too many big outlier moves Monday, Tuesday. We'll see what shapes up the rest of the week here with some of the news that we do have as well, and some of the higher time frames that are setting up. But yeah, that being said, hope you guys did enjoy it. A little market update for you guys and a trade update. But yeah, I'm going to call it a day here. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. If you did, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. All right, take care everyone. Peace.